takes the timeout. They're out of timeout. Technical foul. Technical foul.
Aloha and welcome to the 2020 Maui Invitational Bracket Reveal Special. My name is Mark Titus. His name is Tate Frazier. Together, we are Titus and Tate.
Wow.
Tate, we are Maui. What are you calling us? The ambassadors of Maui? What is our official title?
This year is a little different. We are usually Maui brand ambassadors, or at least we were last year. We relaunched our podcast, Titus and Tate Together at Maui. It was a beautiful kindred moment. We loved being in Maui, but this year it's a little bit different, Mark Titus. I don't know if you've heard, but Maui's coming to the mainland. So this year we're going to be your guides of the mainland. We're going to take you around. It's going to be great.
Last year, Titus and Tate, we took Maui. We forgot to give it back.
Yes.
And now they're gonna have to. Now they have to play the tournament in Asheville. But we're excited nonetheless, as everyone should be. This is the premier college basketball early season tournament. What are we calling it? The MTEs now. That's the new term. Is MTEs. This is the premier one. This has always been the premier one. A lot of newcomers are trying to push Maui off the throne. Not going to happen. It doesn't. You notice in the news, all these teams are dropping out, and I don't want to play in this tournament. I don't want to play in that tournament. Maui perseveres. Maui will always persevere, and that's because Maui's the best, and everyone wants to win the Maui Invitational. Who cares if they're playing at Maui or in Asheville? It doesn't matter. Everyone's gunning for the Duke Trophy.
Yes.
I know you love that the trophy is named literally the Duke Trophy.
Yes, the Wayne Duke Trophy. We took it on the roof last year after the championship game. We celebrated. We saw probably the two best teams last year in Maui, in Dayton and Kansas, teams that we could potentially have seen in the national championship. We've called that our de facto national championship game from last year. But I also want to point out, as far as the things that have changed, we're going to the mainland. We're going to Asheville, North Carolina, my home state. I'm very excited about that. But there is no two Mauis in the title this year, Mark Titus. I don't know if you've seen this, but it used to be the Maui Gym, Maui Invitational. This year, it is just the Maui Invitational. Maui Gym will be back next year, and we can't wait to hang out with Maui Gym. We got lots of plans for us and Maui Gym to party it up in Maui together. But this year, just the Maui Invitational, one Maui, one time on the mainland, and it's going to be one hell of a time.
Maui Jim does not leave Maui. He is not called Asheville Jim. He's called Maui Jim. Maui. We tried. We begged Maui Jim, and Jim told us no. He said, "You bring it back to
next
Maui,
year.
I'll be there." No, you brought up a good point. The Kansas Dayton last year was one of the best Maui Invitational title games we have ever seen. Maybe the best. For all we know, it could have ended up being the national championship preview, as you said. Maybe not. Who knows? That was last year.
Know.
We'll never know. We're going to flush it down. We have to move on to this year. And we have a great field this year. We have a great field every year in the Maui Invitational. We're especially excited about this field, Tate, because you grew up a North Carolina Tar Heel fan. I grew up an Indiana Hoosiers fan. Both of those teams will be in this year's Maui Invitational. So we have it's a little close to home for the two of us.
Yeah, it's the best case scenario. We were going to have our families go out to Maui. We were going to have a full experience. We were so jealous last year seeing the Kansas fans, seeing Coach Bill Self hanging by the pool. We said we want that for our families. But this year in Asheville, it's going to be even more special, even more than we could ever have imagined last year. And I think it all starts at the top with the North Carolina Tar Heels being in their home state. Roy Williams gets it done. The Tournament of Champions, that's what people are calling this. At least that's what I'm calling this. And I just can't wait. Coach Odom, Dave Odom, shout out to him running the Maui team and getting this going. So we're very excited. But the people are here for a bracket reveal. So
they are here for the bracket. We're talking too much. This always happens. They're fast forwarding. They're saying, "Show us the damn bracket already," and that's what we're gonna do. Without further ado, here is your 2020 Maui Invitational bracket. All right, Tate, game one, starting us off, Texas versus Davidson. Shaka Smart. Davidson was actually in the A-10. Shaka Smart, I looked this up because I was trying to make sense of when Davidson joined the A-10, when Shaka Smart left for Texas. They had a one-year overlap, and Shaka Smart plays Bob McKillop and Davidson. They play 3 times. Shaka wins 2 out of the 3. But it was weird because the last 2 times they played, so Davidson, Shaka plays Davidson At the end of the year, they lose by 27. VCU loses by 27 at Davidson. They turn around 9 days later, beat Davidson by 20 in the A-10 tournament. This was in 2015. This is 5 years ago, so I'm not sure how much that matters. But that just shows you the contrasting styles of Shaka Smart, Bob McKillop. In a 9-day span, there was like a 40-plus point swing in outcomes. All that is to say, good luck trying to figure out what's going to happen in this game.
Yeah, well, this is the old guard and the new guard of sorts. Shaka Smart is obviously beloved. We've talked about this ad nauseum on our program, Titus and Tate, but we're happy to see Texas, a big-time program, trying to make a statement here. Shaka says he's ready. His team knows that it's every man up. Andrew Jones is a storyline to look out for as far as the COVID complications of what may happen, but they're all in on that. And then Kellen Grady, for people that don't know at home, Kellen Grady is Stephen Curry 2.0. He is at Davidson. Bob McKillop in his 32nd year at Davidson. And I have to repeat that because that is something else. His 32nd year at Davidson, one of the great head coaches of all time, and he'll be in his home state as well.
Davidson is technically, and I say technically in quotes, the worst team in this field. Technically, I did nothing against Davidson. It's just if you're setting odds as to who is going to win, Davidson is probably the lowest odds. But, and this is a big but.
Huge but, yeah.
Kellen Grady might be the best player in the entire field. So that is an interesting little wrinkle there and
I don't say Steph Curry just because the guy is at Davidson. Obviously he wears 31. He looked up to Steph Curry and he's a jacker, you know what I mean? He takes a lot of shots. That's
such a Kobe wearing 24 type move.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
I'm going to be one better. So Texas, the scouting report on Texas is this, Tate. The Longhorns were in a 4-way tie for third in the Big 12 last year, which is a big time Texas basketball stat. I mean, we don't need to belabor the point of Texas basketball being kind of good enough to make you wonder why they're not better. That is like kind of the storyline with Texas every year is like, you're good enough to grab my attention, but now that you have my attention, I can't help but notice that you should be better and you're not. But they bring everybody back from that team last year. They had a 5-star in Greg Brown, a local kid from Austin.
Yep. Once
again, people are saying, I don't know which people, but there are people saying that this is Shaka Smart's best team he's had at Texas. So there's going to be some high expectations. This is going to be an interesting game just to kick us off.
Yeah, and Greg Brown is the name to watch with Texas because Shaka hasn't really given him glowing reviews, coming out of camp so far. He said he's a freshman doing freshman things. We love that when someone is doing those types of things. And but I think he'll get there. He has the athleticism to be a really great player, as we've seen with Jackson Hayes and some of these other guys over the years. And then we remember in Vegas, Kobe White versus Kerwin Roach, one of the great showdowns in college basketball history. When those two guys went off and Shaka got that big win against Carolina, he's good early in the postseason, and I think Texas will be a team to be reckoned with.
It's definitely going to be an interesting matchup. The winner of Texas Davidson will be playing in the second round. The winner of Indiana Providence,
your team.
That is our game number 2. The Hoosiers versus the Friars. Again, Indiana and Providence both. I think Indiana probably has higher expectations than Providence. Providence has been – I'll say this about Providence. I'm a little surprised by this. I love Ed Cooley. One of the most entertaining – first of all, he's a good coach, but more importantly to us, to content guys like us, he's an entertaining coach. He's a great interview, great guy, fun to follow, all of that stuff. But I was a little surprised. Providence has been a little so-so since the Chris Dunn, Ben Bentel – team, and what was that, 2016? They've been a little, that was like 5 years ago. They should have a decent team. They would have made the tournament last year.
They had won 6 straight, I think, at the end of the season last year. They're a really hot team.
They got hot last year, but
probably
Providence
the third best team in the new Big East, right? Since that is formed. You know, it's like Villanova, Xavier, and then Providence.
So I don't mean to suggest that like Providence is at a crossroads as a program or whatever, but what I am trying to set up, the point I'm trying to set up here is that this could be a big year for Providence. Like the if I'm Ed Cooley, I'm like, man, we got to get it going this year. We got a good thing going. We got David Duke. Yes, that is his real name.
Yes.
Why should he have to change it? He's not the asshole. That's the old Office Space joke about Michael Bolton. David Duke, local kid from Providence. He's a stud. He's going to be awesome for them. But I feel like Indiana has to be the favorite in this game, and I'm not just saying that because I'm an Indiana guy, but Trace Jackson Davis is going to be one of the best players in the country this year, I think. He's going to be great. He's going to be great, Tate. I'm just warning everybody. He's going to be great. What?
Well, I'm going to tell you why he's going to be great, because he changed his number, and this is one of the things that you do in college basketball to sort of cement the fact that either you're trying to take a step down to say I'm not really that guy, let me just get a different number, or to step up and say I'm really him. And Trace Jackson Davis is wearing number 23, folks. So he is trying to say I am him. I am trying to bring the Hoosiers back. And I think you're 100% right on the fact that Indiana and Archie Miller, they're trying to make some noise this year.
There's going to be a little addition by subtraction. Devontae Green is gone. Justin Smith transferred. Justin Smith, great player for, great's probably a little strong, but very good player for Indiana, transferred to, I believe, Arkansas. But he never really fit in. He never loved Archie. We'll just say it that much. So like him leaving might end up being a blessing in disguise for the Hoosiers. Al Durham, Rob Fennessy, and the guy that the next big recruit that's coming into Bloomington, the next 5-star that's going to change everything and bring the Hoosiers back. His name is Christian Lander, Tate. And I can already tell that you're going to hate the guy because his name sounds so close to Christian Laettner. But you got Lander, you got Fennessy, Durham, with Trace Jackson Davis. That is a winning combination. I'm excited about this Indiana team, but the Big Ten is going to be stacked. I should say that. So like it's going to be a weird year because Indiana is probably going to finish like 5th in the Big Ten, but actually have a very good team. And it's going to be impossible to tell whether they should be happy about that. And
they're going to be happy. And I know one man that's going to be happy, a name that you didn't mention. That's Joey Brunk. And he is, based on the research I did, he had gained 10 pounds over the offseason. So he
a muscle? Is it all muscle?
Yes, he's coming back at 255. So watch out for Joey Brunk. And watch out for Race Thompson, also one of my favorite names on the Indiana Hoosiers team. So
great name to have in Indy, too. To be named Race in Indiana. That is the one side of your bracket. Texas, Davidson, Indiana, Providence. One of those teams will be playing for the Maui Invitational title. On the other side, game number 3 of this tournament, we have your North Carolina Tar Heels versus UNLV. Tate, the story is North Carolina, as it always is anytime North Carolina is involved with anything, because you're just such a blue blood. You suck up so much oxygen in the room under normal circumstances. But these are not normal circumstances. We are coming off of one of the worst North Carolina basketball seasons of all time. Why should anybody believe that things will be different this year for the Tar Heels?
Well, people know the recipe, Mark Titus, and the recipe is North Carolina goes to Maui, North Carolina wins Maui, North Carolina wins it all. And when they're playing in Maui, there's a certain air that comes around the team, and Roy Williams himself that says, we got a real shot at doing this, guys. This is what we do. We learn from Maui. We win in Maui. That's a nice tournament atmosphere. One of the best atmospheres you'll ever get outside of the actual NCAA tournament, as you and I both know. And Roy Williams is ready because he's got some pieces. He got Caleb Love in there, got R.J. Davis, got some young freshmen that are going to make some noise, and then got an older guy that usually works for him, a big man, Garrison Brooks, who's coming back for this North Carolina team. But the real story here is that in 2011, North Carolina played in Orleans Arena in Vegas in a preseason tournament, and Kendall Marshall was on that team, John Henson, James Michael McAdoo, Harrison Barnes, Reggie Bullock, P.J. Hairston, and they played a UNLV team that went on a 14-0 run in the second half. And I was at that game, Mark Titus, not to make it about me. And all I heard was Rebels, Rebels. And the Rebels won that game. They beat a team that was preseason, destined to win a title. And it shook up that team, got them going, and they kind of rolled off from there and had a great season, of course. But that moment in time, Roy Williams will remember. And Roy Williams versus UNLV, I think that's his retribution for that moment.
Yeah, I think Carolina is going to bounce back. It pains me to say it because last year was so fun, and it sucks that we didn't have a tournament without Carolina. I was just, I don't know. I squeezed as much out of it as I could because Ohio State beat Carolina, and I rubbed it in your face as often as I could. But it was just so unsatisfying that we didn't get to have the tournament. And really, it's a bummer for you because you get so wound up watching Carolina play in the tournament. And I was excited to see how you would have handled a tournament with no Carolina, where you could have just been relaxed and been like, yeah, who cares? I don't have to worry about who we're playing tomorrow or, where the bracket's going to shake out. You're like, I'll just enjoy it. And then the tournament got canceled. But I think Carolina is going to be better. Obviously they're going to be better, but I think they're going to be pretty good. And I think they should probably be the favorite to win this thing, especially because we're playing in Asheville. I mean, is that ultimately the difference? Was that Carolina called in the favor. Is this a Roy thing? Is this why we're playing in Asheville, do you think, Tate?
I mean, Roy is basically playing a home game to a T. I mean, he is from right outside Asheville. I mean, Coach Dave Odom, they have a great relationship. So we don't know who he called, but we do know that Maui was never a doubt. You know, there was going to be a tournament, and they wanted it to be in North Carolina, and it's going to be beautiful. I can't wait.
UNLV, Bryce Hamilton's the big name you need to know for the Rebels. 16 points a game last year. Scorer can light it up, especially playing against North Carolina with that tempo. I meant to ask this earlier. Are the soft rims being transported from the island to Asheville? Are we going to have the soft rims?
Sources are saying that the rims will stay in Lahaina Center, but we're hoping that they do something. We don't know about Harrah's rims. That's a good question.
Gamblers are scratching their heads about this because I was about to say Bryce Hamilton with those soft rims in Maui could light it up. You get an up-tempo Carolina team, and he's, but I don't know.
Let's start a campaign here. Soften the rims. And we'll figure it out.
Finally, the final game of the first round of the Maui Invitational. The Stanford Cardinal versus the Alabama Crimson Tide. You might be scratching your head and saying, why should I care about this game? Are these teams any good? Are there names? Not everyone's glued into the college basketball landscape and figuring out what the hell's going on out here. Why should I care about a football school playing a Olympic sports school in Stanford? Like, what's going on here? Well, two names to know. Number one, Tate, for Stanford, we have Zaire Williams, who – you may have heard of his name because he was the guy who was actually the best player on the high school team where LeBron and D-Wade's son played together. This was the guy who was actually the guy and recently committed to Stanford, and that made big news because he could have gone basically anywhere he wanted in the country. And he's going to Stanford. He's going to be a freshman. He's going to be very, very good, and we get to see him in the first round of the Maui Invitational. Number two, on the other side, Alabama has a guy by the name of Javon Quinterly, who you might remember was a five-star point guard that originally went to Villanova and just could never figure it out under Jay Wright. God knows what happened there. We got to figure that's the mystery. Is that the new Michael Porter mystery for us?
Yes, the Quinterly mystery. Absolutely. That's for sure.
But that is what I have my eye on in this first round game is just the superstar potential between those two guys. Quinterly, you gotta imagine this guy is ready to silence the haters, Tate, after everything that went down at Villanova. You just have to imagine that, right?
Yes. At the Maui Invitational last year, Bill Self created and answered the first question that's ever been asked. Message to the haters, do you have one after a win? And we are going to build on that brand with Quinterly, of course, in this situation where he can talk about going to a school that just won a national championship and not being able to figure it out as a five-star. You mentioned the word potential. When you look at these two programs, they are built on potential because they're built on future five stars. Harrison Ingram, a five-star, just committed to Stanford. Jared Haas, the coach at Stanford, was an assistant, longtime assistant with Roy Williams. He knows the game. He knows North Carolina. He was at UAB before. He played in the battle for Atlantis with that team. So he knows these preseason tournaments. So he's going to have, a little bit of an advantage here, especially knowing Roy Williams. So Stanford's a team to watch out for as a dark horse, I would say. And then you look at Alabama, and if you keep up with the recruiting world, Mark Titus, I read a story the other day that said this I'm laughing because it was so funny. They said the school to watch out for Duke's potential top recruits in the class of 2021 is Alabama. And we're not talking football. So that Alabama basketball, Nate Oates is doing really well on the recruiting trail with a bunch of guys that he's bringing in.
Maybe too well. Maybe too well. Are we sniffing something out? This is
it sounds like South. It's a 5-star matchup at the bottom of the bracket in Maui. That's all we can say. And it's going to be great.
That is the matchup of that game. Yeah, is the superstar, the individual level potential.
The brands.
Stanford's interesting to me because Zaire Williams is going to be an Anthony Edwards situation that we saw in Maui last year, where Anthony Edwards was quote unquote the best, but he wasn't actually. I mean, Obi Toppin ended up winning National Player of the Year, but Anthony Edwards might go number 1 in the draft. He played in Maui last year, and not a lot of people remember that because Georgia did not play well in Maui last year. They basically needed Anthony Edwards hitting like a clutch shot late to beat Chaminade in the last place game. So it's interesting to see how this all plays out because you got a team like Alabama where you figure Quinterly is going to be carrying a lot of the load. You got Stanford where Williams might be doing that. You got Davidson, I said earlier, Kellen Grady. But every so often you get like a Gonzaga and Adam Morrison situation where one guy does carry a team to a Maui, not to the title, but to the title game, and you're like, wow. These are Maui moments we live for. So it's fascinating, Tate. it's fascinating is all I'm going to say. It could go either way. Superstars sometimes, wow, this is great. You got Adam Morrison. Other times it's like Anthony Edwards, you're doing a lot, but you're not winning. So I don't know. We'll see.
And sometimes you get Luke Herringody versus Tyler Hansbrough. You know what I mean? There's a full range at the Maui Invitational. You can see it all. And this year you're going to see it on the mainland. And yeah, those are great matchups though. I'm pretty.
All right, let's break them down though. Let's make some picks. Because why not? Why not? We got nothing but time between now and then, and the people need some college basketball content to get excited about. So Texas Davidson, who do you like?
I'm going to go with Shaka Smart here. I would like to go with Davidson. My heart says Wildcats, and I'm hoping my heart is right, but my head is yelling at me. The Texas Longhorns are trying to make a statement. They're trying to say, we're here. We're trying to make a real run with Shaka, and I think it's a pivotal year for Shaka, so I'm going to take Texas in game 1.
I'm going to agree with you. I think Davidson, we forgot to bring this up, that Davidson is technically more of the home team than North Carolina.
Yes, closer.
Yes. There's a little closer than the Tar Heels are, so Davidson might have the home court advantage, probably not. I think this might be the best game of the first round, honestly. Yep. I really do, because it's I could just see Kellen Grady just going absolutely berserk, and nothing to just in the weird times we're living in. How much are teams practicing? How much are they not? You brought up Andrew Jones earlier, the situation with him recovering from leukemia, and like, does that make the coronavirus protocols at Texas a little stricter than maybe others? I don't know. There's so many variables that go into it that when it boils down to it, I feel like Kellen Grady's going to be the best player on the floor, and that scares me. But I still think I'm going to pick Texas. I still think I'm with you.
I think there's a chance that Kellen Grady does the full Maui bump where he becomes the star of this tournament and goes on a run with Davidson. There's like that sliver of hope that resides just because he's a senior, right? I mean, he got robbed of his junior NCAA tournament run that he probably would have made based on, him trying to prove that he is Steph Curry 2.0.
This is hashtag unfinished business.
Exactly.
Hashtag unfinished business.
This is a tournament that they feel like, all these teams are coming down to. They can make a statement. This is their 2020 national championship game, basically, if you're Kellen Grady. So he could make a run. So maybe I could be talking it. I think I'm going to switch it. I'm going to officially hit the button. Switch it to Davidson, Kellen Grady, tournament moment. This is
all
his
right.
run.
I'll let you switch. Pick Davidson then.
I'm taking Davidson.
Davidson.
Officially.
I was gonna ask you who's your Maui Bump team. We were gonna get to that in a second, but it sounds like you're kind of.
I've already leaned that way. I've already thought it in my head.
Starting to trend that way.
Let's go.
Indiana Providence. Who do you like?
Oh, yeah. So Indiana in this game, Archie Miller, this is the year. I still have a little bit of hesitation because Providence was so hot going into the actual 2020, NCAA tournament or Big East tournament. So that gives me, and David Duke has potential, again, to have a real run in this tournament. So I'm going to go with number 23, though. I'm going to go with our Indiana Hoosiers. I'm going to go with Archie Miller. The facilities have been upgraded, so I have faith. And Coach Miller.
I think Indiana's just the better team. I think Indiana has more talent. I think they're a better basketball team, and that'll bear itself out in this game and throughout this. I mean, that's really as simple as that. But Providence is going to be pretty good. I meant to say this at the top of the big picture thing. It feels like all of these teams, and this is going to sound obvious, but it's not always obvious, Tate. All of the teams in this tournament, maybe Davidson is the one exception, NCAA tournament or bust, kind of. Like they're good at it. Like they're going into this season, they're saying we have an NCAA tournament team. We definitely have an NCAA tournament team. And that sounds ridiculous because you're like, doesn't every team say that? And the answer is no, not going into every. I promise you, there are teams last year that were going to the Maui Invitational, and they're like, I just hope we can not embarrass ourselves too much here. But enough about UCLA.
Yeah, I was going to say, leave UCLA alone. Come on.
But no, UCLA was pretty good by the end of the year. But yeah, UCLA wasn't going into Maui last year saying like, I got a tournament team on my hands. Mick Cronin was like, God,
where are my flip-flops? Yeah.
What kind of team do I even have here? All right, so we're both in agreement. I'm picking Indiana. You're picking Indiana. Let's continue to the other side of the bracket. Carolina, UNLV. Who do you like?
Yeah, I think this is pretty simple. I'm going to go with North Carolina because I think that you mentioned all these teams are trying to prove something, that they are NCAA tournament caliber teams. I think that North Carolina has a little bit of sour grapes about last year, how it played out. Roy especially. I'm not sure. I mean, I think Garrison Brooks probably took it personally, but Roy is definitely, offended by how they played last year, and they have the talent now, it feels like. Day'Ron Sharp is a name to watch out for. 6'9" forward who's a freshman. I haven't heard people say his name very much, so maybe he's the real big man for this team. But I like him, and I like Walker Kessler. So.
If you think for 1 second that they're moving the Maui Invitational to like basically where Roy Williams is from. And Roy Williams is they're going to move it all the way across the country
to the mainland,
to where Roy's from, and then allow Roy to lose in the first round of this thing. You are out of your school. You are outside of your school if you think that is in the realm of possibility. I'm sorry to say, UNLV fans, you have zero shot in this game.
Yeah.
It's not because your team's not good. It's not because you can't beat North Carolina. It's because of the circumstances surrounding this thing.
It's kind of like LeBron.
Is going to win.
It's kind of like LeBron going to the bubble a little bit.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yes,
It's too perfect of a setting for it not to work out.
Yeah, there's no – I don't know if Carolina's going to win the whole thing. I'll flesh this out in a second, but Carolina is definitely winning the first round against UNLV. Stanford, Alabama. Who do we like?
I'm going to go with Stanford. I'm going to go with Jared Haas. I'm going to go with him having his team prepared. I like Nate Oates. I like the potential, like I mentioned before, about Alabama. But right now – I like
Alabama next year.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to go with Stanford.
I like Alabama next year. I like Stanford this year. Stanford, as a reminder to everybody out there, Stanford once upon a time from 2000 to 2004 – was a 1 seed in 3 out of those 5 NCAA tournaments. They were a 1 seed. Stanford had an unbelievable run not too long ago in our lifetime, Tate. You're old enough to remember this. And they need to bring it back, and it seems like they might be bringing it back with the way the recruiting's going. So
yeah, the 01 team was a 1 seed. Then you got the Lopez twins. You know, there's a bunch of Stanford eras. They're back.
They got it. The Pac-12, by the way, should be okay this year. The
Sneaky.
Pac-12 should be sneaky good. I'm excited. Pac-12 update. All right, so we agreed on most of these picks. Texas, I have Texas, Indiana. You had Davidson, Indiana, so I'll let you go first. Davidson, Indiana. Who do you like?
Kellen Grady.
Flesh out the rest of the bracket.
Yeah. Kellen Grady does it again. Davidson they basically are the sweethearts of the Maui/Asheville Invitational. They take care of business. They go to the championship game, waiting for them on the other side of the championship game. After Roy Williams has a nice, back and forth with Stanford, beats Jared Hass's. Good job, Jared. It was a great run, man. You boys got a tough team. You guys are going to have a good season. And then we're going to get to the championship game. Bob McKillop versus Roy Williams, 2 seasoned coaches going at it in North Carolina in the home state. Kellen Grady goes off, does what Steph Curry could never do, beats North Carolina, upsets Roy in the home country. And Kellen Grady wins the Maui MVP, and Davidson remembers this forever. I'm going with the Wildcats at the top.
The Wildcats.
Push the button.
So
Davidson Wildcats.
You're officially locking in Davidson as your Maui Bump team then.
Yeah, they are the Maui Bump team. They are the Maui champions / Asheville champions. And this is only because this is like old school Southern Conference rivalry. This is Bob McKillop knowing Roy Williams really well. This is Roy Williams knowing Bob McKillop well. And this is Kellen Grady being the best player on the floor. We understand that we hear that a lot. Just who's the best player on the floor tonight?
It's not about the X's and O's, Tate. It's about
Jimmy's
the Jimmys and Joes.
You know that. And it's about Kellen Grady. And I'm riding Kellen Grady to the top. So go Wildcats.
I like it. You're talking me into it. I want to revisit my pick, but I'm going to stick to it. I wrote him down in a permanent marker here, so I got to roll with it.
No Sharpie. Oh, actually, a full Sharpie.
full Sharpie. We're going to get sued for stealing bits here. All right. I have Texas, Indiana in one semifinal, UNC Stanford in the other. I like the Hoosiers over Texas. I like the Tar Heels over Stanford. It is Indiana versus North Carolina.
I like it.
Our 2 teams are going to play each other. It's destiny. We saw that last year when Ohio State, the team, the school I ended up going to and playing for, we got to get a little taste of it last year when our schools played each other. This is not quite the same. Indiana's not my alma mater, but it's the team I grew up cheering for. So similar. And I feel like you might get your revenge and the Tar Heels win, but a much sweeter outcome, in my opinion, is Christian Lander introduces himself to all of America and rips the hearts out of North Carolina fans with the last-second shot. And North Carolina fans say, are you kidding me? A guy named Christian Lander?
Yes.
After we endured so many years of Christian Laettner?
And honestly, it makes a lot of sense because then you get the Lander shot, like the Watford shot, and it's one moment in time. Everyone's like, Archie's back. Indiana's back. Yeah. I can see it. I can see it.
I really do genuinely think Indiana has a good team this year, and it wouldn't surprise me if they get them out. I am, in all seriousness, I don't know if Indiana's going to win the thing. North Carolina should probably be the favorite. But Indiana, lock me in as I do think Indiana is going to be the Maui Bump team. I think you're saying it's Davidson. So if Davidson beats Texas, that Davidson-Indiana game, assuming Indiana can beat Providence.
It's the battle for the
Maui Bump.
Yeah.
The battle for the bump. Battle for the Maui Bump. Whoever comes out of that is going to be ranked 11th in the AP poll or whatever it is. I'm so excited. Are there any other thoughts, Tate? Any big picture thoughts? Anything else we got to say to wrap this thing up?
I just want to say thank you to the Maui Invitational for bringing us back. We're very proud and very happy to be ambassadors for the Maui brand. And I just have to say this. Being in Asheville with Bill Walton will probably be the greatest joy of my entire career. And I'm saying that prior to it all coming together to fruition. But I'm so excited, Titus, and I can't wait to be back with you, back on the air where we started this podcast. So it's gonna.
We
it's gonna
live in uncertain times, Tate. These times we live in, they are very uncertain. Not only in the world at large, but also in the college basketball world. If you're following any of these scheduling news or anything, really anything going on in college basketball,
nothing
a lot
is
of
promised. Yeah.
A lot of uncertainty. You have no idea what's going to go on, what tournaments are going to happen, what the conference schedules are going to look like, all that kind of stuff. So I am excited for nothing else to have something locked in to say, this is certain. You can put this on your calendars, folks. We are having the Maui Invitational. Tate and I will be there. And that's it. And we are going to have a great time. And we are excited because the Maui Invitational is the best. And it doesn't matter if it's being played in Maui or in Asheville. We're there for it. So I'm looking forward to it. Good luck to all these teams. This is an awesome field.
Yes.
Incredible field. All of these teams are NCAA tournament caliber. I'm very excited about that. This is going to be fun. This is going to be so cool.
It's going to be the best.
College basketball is almost back.
Yeah, it's back. Get out your permanent markers and write it in your calendar. They're coming back. These teams are going to be there. We're going to be there. It is the Maui Invitational in Asheville. Asheville is officially the new Maui. You never thought that was possible. Anything is possible in 2020, and I can't wait.